Welcome to an Imperator Rome how-to, or how to get into the game. Someone asked this question on one of the recent Epirus playthroughs. It's a fairly complicated issue. I would highly suggest or highly recommend starting as Rome. Choose mixed gender. It's going to give you more. It's going to essentially double the potential for office holders. And you'll have less trouble finding office holders. Sometimes you can just run out of characters, and it's much better to have more than less. As Rome, you want to immediately disband your navy. And pretty much any power, just disband it, get rid of it if you can. If stick to the land, don't worry. What you do is just aggregate it, and then click this button here, disband unit. Boom, gone. That's going to save you a considerable sum off of your gold outlays. It's not going to be exactly pretty. I'm just going to lay down my thoughts here as best I can. There are a lot of cities in Rome. There's 5 here, to be exact, in the capital province, which is always 100% loyal. You'll note here that there are a lot of slaves. Actually, there are none here, but there will be slaves about. There are primary Roman pops here in this grain province. You don't want these 10 primary culture Hellenic Romans farming grain. You want them in your cities, because at present, your research rate is only 91.62%. You want any and all pops that you can move into these cities as soon as you can financially afford it. Speaking of financially afforded, you don't want any forts except the free one on your capital province. This one, we're going to end up warring down here. You know, I delete it. I don't know whether, I don't always delete it, which means that someone just getting into the game probably shouldn't. But that's the end of it. Rome is very rich. If this were not Rome, you wouldn't want to have this fort. In fact, you really don't. Just get rid of it. You have such a large levy available that you'll defeat anyone here, which means they'll never get here, or here, or here, provided you set yourself up properly when you do war. What you want to do is you can raise the levy, just sort of raise it, or you can choose this levies map mode, and then you can raise it wherever you like. So you probably want to raise it close to the war front. You're going to open up if it were here, there, or wherever. Okay, so we want this tech maxed out as high as possible, as quickly as possible. There are a couple of ways to do that, and it involves using your innovations to unlock technologies. My favorite one for Rome and in general is theological colleges, because I always essentially go down this path first and foremost, and almost, if you're a republic like Rome is, you want to get here to formulatic worship as soon as is possible, irrespective of anything else, anything at all. Unless you're going to be warring in Hellenic territories, which Rome is. But we'll get there in a moment. If you're not Rome, go right here ASAP. If you are Rome, go down here to, you'll take this, 3% unintegrated group happiness. Group is always better than just unintegrated culture happiness. Always want group. It's means that it's very wrong. The unintegrated group happiness is sort of right, which means that it's sort of not a problem, which means that it's mostly not a problem. This wrong group is very wrong, and it always is a problem. So you want as many modifiers to this wrong culture group happiness as is possible. You'll get integrated culture here, it's like this nice, but not all that relevant. And then here you get another group happiness. And in order to get to theological colleges, you have to honor this. So this will give you plus 25% to your maximum, which is presently 125. This will bump it to 150. Should keep you rolling along for a little while. But when that gets close to 150, you'll want to go here to the oratory tree and try to get down to bookbinding ASAP, which means you'll have to go here, here, here. Note you lose 10 aggressive expansion. It's nice, but you want to have 10 aggressive expansion to use it. Here. And then this is nice as well. It allows you to build a grand theater, which is important, but, depending on your cadence or the way that your game moves, you can go there, or both. You always want to have both of these, surely. The other one for the other 25%, I usually always go there sort of as a third or tertiary measure. It's fairly involved all the way down here. You'll want to go follow the route up. There's a lot of decent. You always want to get this corruption. If it says anything about corruption, that's the path you want to take. So there's one here, one here. Just ignore all this. It's irrelevant. Go here, there, here, there for a loyalty, provincial loyalty, important here, and then there. Let me make a disclaimer right now. All of what I'm saying is for moderately to very wide play. Moderately would be maybe Rome expands here and along and through here along the coast. Maybe a full Mare Nostrum, and then anything wider than that, of course. You're just going to stick around in Italy. Maybe you could choose other stuff, but I really don't know the optimal way to play that way. I do know, but I don't want to talk about it here because, well, it's not the way that I'd play. So, I don't want to make this video very, very exceptionally long. I'm going to try to keep it as short as possible, and that means we're going to close out this technology thing presently. This will get you to 175, your max rate, and there's a lot of text here. Like, all the way down here, and then you have the oratory here, and then here, with the bookbinding here and here. And the religious one as well, you want to, of course, go all the way down here to follow the grand temples down to form. That's a lot of innovations. And you're going to need your rate as high as possible because, well, it's going to take you some time irrespective of whether you peg it at 175 or not. So you'll be involved in that for a while. Republics, they don't get laws that allow them to automatically convert very well, which is why I was on this formulatic worship. Now, it's going to give you an automatic pop conversion speed tick, 0.50 tick, which is going to convert pops automatically whether you do anything or not. First of all, unless it's one of your... Okay, let's stick with the conversion thing. So there are mostly all Roman or Hellenic pops here, except 4 Jewish pops that are in Rome. I don't know what kind they are, nor does it really matter. Let's check the view here. There's a Jewish pop that is a citizen. So we have some conversion going on. It's going at a fair clip because they're primary culture. Just go over here and check these boni here or malice. The only malice is a non-integrated culture, which of course because he's Jewish. If he were Roman, we would lose that 20% malice and it would go faster. But you see the citizen converting plus 0.60. From that formulatic worship technology, it's going to give you another base of 0.50. So that would essentially double the speed that this happens at, almost. So that's the important part of it. And you don't have to set a policy at all. Like here, the policy is set for border or something or other, local man. But I don't even know what it's called because I never use it. It's irrelevant. What is relevant is your home province here in Italia. You want to set all of these for cultural assimilation and just sit them there. Mostly anywhere you play, just take a look at the regions map mode. Like if your capital was in Thrace, you would want to just set this whole region for cultural assimilation and just leave it. Don't change it again. Don't mess with it. Don't pay it any mind. Just for forever, your pops are going to assimilate. And it's useful for in very many ways. Oftentimes your pops, when you conquer, they'll be brought back to your capital area. Just sort of the program will automatically place them there, and they'll assimilate by that policy that you have. You can also, if you conquer, like say, cultures, an Etruscan is not a Roman, a Lucanian is not a Roman. These are like cultures or wrong culture, but not wrong culture group. The Lepontics are green; they're a wrong culture group. The red people here, or maroon or whatnot, Roman red, are going to be more loyal than these green or semi-green or a purple colored cultural map people. So these are going to be loyal, and you don't really need to mess with them. But you wouldn't mind assimilating them, which is why the policy should all be set for cultural assimilation. Just do it, and don't worry about it. Your life will be much easier. Other than those changes in your capital, again, region of Italia, here for Rome, you never want to change a governor policy ever. You do not ever want to pay to change this in this manner. You can change it by swapping out a governor because the governor is corrupt or some other weird thing happens to where the governor gets involved in some kind of plot and has to go to jail or some other thing or whatnot that's not planned. It just sort of RNG happens. The governor has to go. The policy will automatically reset when a new governor pops up. But do not, under any circumstance, pay to change this ever. Another thing you should never do under any circumstance is do a divine sacrifice. This is essentially a PI drain. You may as well flush it down a toilet or down a garbage disposal or whatnot. Completely useless. Let the province revolt, hire a merc, assault the fort, you're done. A couple hundred gold later, your revolt is solved, your province is back at 100%, and you have, at least, 43.50 PI that you wouldn't have had otherwise. You can fall down a trap here very easily. It sort of looks like, yeah, I can keep my provinces loyal, but it will burn out in 5 years. Use the PI, build a city. Cities, I think they cost what, 50 PI. Don't ever do this. It's one of the most wasteful things that you could ever do. Another thing you should never do under any circumstance. A lot of people say, what's the best way to get my economy rolling along? Conquer stuff. Don't ever build a mine. Don't ever build a farming settlement. Don't ever build a tribal settlement. Don't ever build a provincial legation. You can move the pops to areas where you have a free cultural assimilation policy in your home region. That'll be automatically set. You set this policy, it will remain in effect for the rest of the game. Your king dies, or your governor dies, or your consul dies, or whoever dies. It doesn't matter. It'll just stay. The policy will remain in effect. Anywhere outside your capital region, you have to change the policy manually. As I said, you never, ever want to do that, ever. Another thing, again, as I said, don't ever build any of these. Not a one. In fact, we're going to raise some money right now. I believe that we have a barracks. These I dislike these more than any other building ever because they stop the free flow of pops. There is a barracks here and a barracks here. So just right click or opposite click the button here, boom. I just deleted that and raised some money. Boom. Delete that and raise some money there as well. As you conquer, and with Rome you're going to do it very easily, you want to delete any and all forts. See this fortifications map mode? After each war, just check the fortifications. These are allies, painted blue. This one is our capital fort. It's free. Delete those, and also use the macro builder and delete any and all. I don't think we have slave estates. Yeah, this farm, we have a farm here in Norba. Anyway, we're getting into detail-oriented for it, just how to generally play Imperator Rome. So we'll just leave that at that. Okay, so you see these up here. You have some trade routes available for your capital. The first thing you want to do is go, first of all, we want to click on this available decisions and embrace social equity. It means you can place men or women into your offices as you need. So you note these are all men at present. Dismiss all of them and replace them with the most competent group or whatnot based on your need. Okay, so I have dismissed all my office holders except this guy is disloyal. He won't leave. We have all these open. If you open, click on this button here, you'll note that a lot of these families are going to be scorned. This means bad. This anything here, when you're looking at a research under the technology tab, it shows as intelligent. That means you have a chance for a free breakthrough if you place this character down. He's not technically the best, he or she, I don't even know, at what he or she does, but looks like she can do, she'll get a chance for a free breakthrough. You want to check here as well for all of them. As you go through, note here, this is a 9 skill, which is better than an 8 skill, which is not quite as good as a 10, but he has the Scholar, which means he has a chance for a free breakthrough as well. So you'll go here. It looks as though we have an obsessive here, 8, boom. That's good as well. You go here to the religious and see if anyone is both competent and has the proper trait. Scholar looks like a 0 martial, so we wouldn't want to place her up here. But she does have a 6 religious, which is good enough. We could place perhaps a more competent person there with a 9, but 6 with a free breakthrough chance versus the 9. I'll go with a 6 free any day. So here we have also, we have a 6 intelligent here, or a 12 without a, there's the tab here, blue. That means it's a great family. The yellow tab here, a great family. There's the blue family, the yellow family, the red family. So you'd want to have these tabs placed before these just random guys that show up. And especially, if you're a republic and you see this crest here, it essentially means that the guy is going to cause trouble. Don't ever put any of these guys in office ever again under any circumstance. It may look appealing. You'll pay for it in the end. There'll be some civil war. You won't be able to do this. Senate approval will tank. All kinds of other stuff. Just don't do it. So that leaves us with a choice here. We can put Quintus into the office, or we can have our 6-person. We're going to go with 6 and free. The free breakthrough chance is always usually quite advantageous. We have our offices that we need to place. So you just these oratory are exceptionally important. You want to have as good a person as is possible. So this is you note here, this is an Optimatis. We'll place him. I see he's old though. Never mind. You want to have these guys as young as possible. They have to work up their statesmanship skill, and the longer they're in the office, the better they are at doing their job. Unfortunately, a lot of these guys are popularis, and they're going to cause all kinds of trouble if we put them in office. So I'm going to ignore this guy, and this guy is old. I'll ignore him. Just roll down the list. There's the popularis. We don't want him in there. There's one. Boom. We'll plop her down. This is aggressive expansion. In the early game, you probably shouldn't get too terribly aggressive. You get aggressive expansion when you conquer territory. You want to tech up as soon as possible, and then you'll be able to conquer more territory due to the technology or innovations that you unearth. So just sort of take it easy in the beginning. Conquer this, conquer that. Keep a low aggressive expansion. You won't have to worry about this divine sacrifice because your aggressive expansion will be quite low, which means your stability will be high, which means you'll get more PI because your stability is not giving you a malus, which means you'll be able to do more stuff and file more claims, build more cities, build more wonders. I'll get there. So do I care about the aggressive expansion or how good or whatnot the person is? Not really, no. So here's a competent person, not popularis. A scorned family has 1 of 3 presently. This is going to make it 2 of 3. This is essentially an irrelevant office, just to place it with whomever. De-scorn or whatnot, the group. Actually, what we really want to do is we want to find out the next most competent oratory, because these are really very important. Like, we'll have them perform these duties, but really we're training them in statesmanship so they can replace these 2 if they die from some disease or whatnot. So we're going to look for another competent oratory person down this list that's not a popularis and it's not old. There's another right here. She has a 2 martial, which means she's not going to be very good at her job, but we don't care either. We want her as a backup for oratory, so we'll place her there. I'm going to repeat that process. Essentially, Omen is by and large is irrelevant. This divine sacrifice, completely irrelevant. Don't even worry about it. Just place an oratory person there. This guy bothers me. I'd bribe him, other than it will cost me 5 PI, and I don't want to pay. I'd give him a free hand. Get rid of him. Give him free hands. Technically that's going to make him more corrupt and happy. The good news is we don't care if he's happy or corrupt, because we're going to immediately dismiss him. And now he can go. He's mad now. He's going to have a malice because we gave him the free hands, and then we took it away because he no longer has an office, and it's going to list him as less loyal than not. We don't care in the least. So here's a national tax person. Again, most of our money is going to come from commerce income very shortly once we expand a bit. So again, this is not particularly relevant. It's not irrelevant, but it's not particularly important either. So I'm going to place another oratory person here. Here we have a 1 of 3 for the scorn. We'll make that 2 of 3. We're just going to go down this list here. As 50 years old, we want to ignore him. There's a 4 of 3. She's pretty good at what she does. She's not popularis, which is good for me. Down we go here. We'll just sort down, and this guy is 29. He's young, popularis. Move on. 52. Let's see. We'll look for great families here. Here we have a 34. He's pretty good at what he does. Let's plop him down. On we go here. Let's see. This is a 22. 3 of 3. Good enough. None of these guys are nota popularis, nor should they ever be. All right, your economy. Let's see. We have the ability to change various things. You generally want to leave this in the middle. You can lower the taxes for some happiness. Don't do it. You need your money. You raise the taxes. You lose some research. It's not a bad idea if you have the research pegged out, which can happen relatively quickly. I usually just leave it here and don't worry about it. This is almost always best at export. You want to export. It went up by... Well, it's lower now, but you want to just put it here to start and don't worry about it. Set it and forget it. And that's that. You also want to go here to the economy. Click the accept all trades button. And that is essentially the end of that. You can disallow, like if we didn't want to export camels, we could press this button. I really usually don't mess with it at all. So I suggest you don't either. Okay, so we still have 75 PI. We had to pay 25 PI to get our social equity policy in place. We're just going to click this toggle alert. If it ever is possible to undo that, we don't even want to know about it, because who would do that? We'll just unclick that, and then we'll never hear about that ever again. But we did have to pay the 25 to enact it, because we want our best candidates going from the start. We got 4 free breakthrough possibilities here, and they're still fairly competent at what they do. So what we do need is policies here, and it says you get a bonus, a loyalty of characters 5, and freeman happiness of 8. The loyalty of characters is nice, but you have to choose 2 military ideas. This one is one that you'll want, but it's generally not particularly important. This is irrelevant as Rome, and this is completely irrelevant as we don't even have a navy, nor do we want to build one for some time. So what we do want is national commerce income and national slave output. We also have 35 PI left in the bank. I may pop another one of these policies. We'll see. We need to take a look at our omens, or our deities that we have available. You want to optimize this based on various methods. This one is not bad. Commerce income omen. In fact, yeah, that one's quite advantageous. Let's see. The one on top here is the one that automatically happens, and the one on the bottom here for discipline is the one you'd have to sort of anticipate the need for. Usually, if I have Mercury, I'll always just click the Mercury omen and get national commerce income plus 15%. It's about that simple. In fact, we'll do that right now. So we may want to change some of these deities as we have a high stability of 50. If you're going to do that, you want to do it right now. As the lower it is, the faster it'll come up. You'll get free stability for having a lower stability. If you have a really high one, it will come down. You'll lose stability for just being. All right, I took a look through here. We could change this, but population capacity is quite advantageous, and really all of this stuff here. Just look at the top line, because you're never really going to use the omen, because you'll always be juicing your commerce income. So the top line, tribesman output irrelevant, global food modifier irrelevant, national pop growth irrelevant if you're going moderately wide to wide. Supply limit is nice, but generally irrelevant as well. You can bring extra food or get some innovations over the longer term to deal with that. We go up here. We find research points, 5%, whatever. Provincial loyalty is nice. Pop capacities, we have some already. And then we get to the heart of the matter. Happiness. Happiness is always good. If I see happiness, that's where I go. This is state religion for everybody. And this is 5% for nobles. So if I have everybody, sooner or later my nobles are going to be part of everybody, as to whether they start in our state religion or not. So do I want nobles? They're very important, but I'm going to go for this longer aggregate nationwide or empire-wide, republic-wide modifier here, 4%. The nobles, if I conquer over here into Macedon, these nobles are going to be, of course, Macedonian. There are 14 nobles. and there'll be none too happy about being conquered by the wrong culture. You'll note that this is red Roman, and this is blue Macedonian, so those guys are going to be mad. But they're going to get over it, provided that you have a decent stability and not a terribly high aggressive expansion. You note they're already Hellenic, so they'll be much more prone to be loyal than not. In fact, probably you won't even feel it really unless you run a really high aggressive expansion. Don't do it. So you note our stability decreased by 15 because we changed one of our deities. We could change another, I suppose. It's going to cost us. It would cost us another 15 or whatnot to stability. Let's see if we did this. 15 stability. We don't really need to do that just right now. We're happy enough as we are. And you'll note here that the stability is rising by 0.12 because it's below 50. If it were even lower, like at 20, it would probably rise by 0.18 or 0.24 or whatever a number that the algorithm or mechanic implies. But the lower it is, the faster it will rise, and the higher it is, the faster it will fall. We have we can change another law. You click on government and go to laws here, and I usually go right for this Centuriate Assembly. Fabricate claim cost 50%. If you have a claim on a territory or province, it will give you less aggressive expansion when you conquer it. It will also give you less war score cost, which means that you can conquer that territory as well as others that may be involved in the war. As Rome in the beginning, there are a lot of smaller territories here that generally can be attacked as separate, pieced out with. Like, for instance, anyone who's played Paradox games knows this, but if you're brand new and you're at war with Samnium and Lucania and Brutia, let's say all those three, and you wanted to piece out under a main warring agreement, you may be over like the maximum war score, which is 100 for any given war. But if you completely occupied Samnium, you could separate peace out with them before the end of that war and get him off of the books, as it were, for this main war, which means that you could then peace out with both of these simultaneously and extract more war score in that manner. If anyone doesn't understand what I mean, just write a note in the comment. To the point, war scores is not overly relevant because there's a lot of small powers. Like, war score becomes very relevant if you want to conquer into, let's say, the Seleucid Empire. You need 100 war. You need a big war, and as long as you've gone through the trouble of making the Seleucid Empire capitulate before your army, which is no easy task, you'll want to take as much as possible. Not 50 war score, not 75 war score, 100 war score, which is the maximum, which is 100% of the actionable territory you can take for any particular war that you're in. So if you beat down this guy, his manpower is so low, he's been beaten and battered and bruised so many times that he's willing to capitulate, you want to take as much as possible. Whereas here, completely irrelevant. Like, Japodia and Cataria and Liburnia and Ditonia and Dalmatia are all in a group. They have a defensive league mechanic. And maybe they won't all peace out with you, but you don't need them to, because if you completely occupy any one of the defensive league participants, you can make them capitulate early. And then you can make him capitulate early, and then you could probably take the rest of the, say there were these three, in a main peace agreement, which would be actionable. Or you could just separate peace out with all of them. It doesn't really matter. But the larger the power, the more war score is relevant. Would be relevant for the Antigonids, Egypt. These smaller ones, don't worry about it. So, what is my point? My point is that I want to take fabricate claim cost. This is going to lower the cost from 20 down to 10. Very important. The last Roman playthrough I did is a playlist available if anybody wants to know specifically how I did Action to Rome as a Let's Play. It's there. I left it in play for the entirety of the game. Whether I was small, large, moderately sized, wide, or otherwise, those 50% claims must have made me hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of PI points over the game that I didn't have to pay. It also allowed me to keep my aggressive expansion quite low because, as I said, if you have a claim, you get less aggressive expansion. In order to attack a nation, if you've never played a Paradox game, you'll note I can't attack here because my stability is under 20. The moment it pops up above 20 again, I'll be able to do it. You'll note also that the stability is going up by 0.37 because it's down at 20. It was going, this is decaying by 0.21. It was 0.12 at 35. So it didn't quite double by lowering another 15, but it's going up by 0.21 now, which is significant. But anyway, you need a claim in order to declare war on a power. If you don't have a claim, don't attack. It's not worth your while. So you note I spent the rest of my PI on changing that law, and the stability also lowered by 15 for changing the law. But this one is stuck there. It's been enacted. I never have to mess with it ever again. Sometimes a pop-up will happen. The various, the populares or the other nobles or religious folk will want to change the law here to a curiate or senatorial. Don't ever do that. Don't ever change it. Don't ever let them get away with changing this away from Centuriate Assembly. Okay, so gone about as far as I can for Rome. I have that Let's Play. If you want to know more specifically about how to succeed as Rome, do that. I do have a Let's Play going at present for Epirus, and I have archived saves available to demonstrate some of the things I'm about to talk about. So we're going to switch over from Rome over to Epirus presently. Here's my first save of 459 Epirus. We have conquered into Hellenic territory. You'll note these are all Hellenic territories. If you're going to conquer as Rome or anyone else really, you want to try to stick as closely as possible to your primary religion and primary culture. Usually you'll not be able to stick to your primary culture because like Roman here or Imperator, it's just not many of them about, and you want to expand further than that. So I essentially would ignore conquering into your culture. It's usually more problematic than not. Like a Macedonian would want to conquer more Macedonians, or a Thrace would want to conquer Macedonians, but that would mean conquering Macedon, which is probably more problematic than one might really want. So anyway, to make a long story short, just stick to your religion at first, and you'll have your loyalties will be higher. Like these pops here are essentially going to be happier because they are our state religion gives 4% because we have matching pantheons, each giving 4%. If I were to choose like a Zalamoxian or whatnot, I don't even have the choice to choose it, but you can get other deities once you conquer some of their pops. Don't ever do that anyways, it's completely irrelevant. You'd want to have your primary culture's deities here chosen. Never choose a Zalamoxian. I suppose it's not a bad idea. They have some appealing boni, but in the long run, it's not really worth your while. Of course, if you were Zalamoxian, the same would hold true of Hellenic deities. You'd never want to choose them. You'd always want to have Zalamoxian pantheons chosen. Whatever the case, these are all Hellenic. Always have them that way. Never do anything else. So if we're going to make our next conquer choice would be like Epirus is a medium-sized power, not a lot of manpower. It's not like Rome. You just steamroll essentially anyone in your way. But Epirus is a monarchy, non-republic, and does not have the manpower or income that Rome does. So it's a bit of a different play. Around the same general theme. Conquer into your primary religion and do it as efficiently as possible. For republics of Rome, you'll note I just enacted that Centuriate Assembly, which gives me half-priced claims. You pretty much want to file as many claims as is possible everywhere with a republic, and just sort of keep your AE quite low because your pops are not going to convert at the same pace as a monarchy. Monarchies can conquer and just not worry about conquering as much as they want. Their aggressive expansion will go up. They'll get over it. The pops will get over it. A lot of these monarchies, they have boni. Do their heritages for bonus for loyalty. The Empyrean does not. We get a levy size multiplier and a commerce income malus. The Bosporans, for instance, do get a bonus. I think the Seleucids do as well. We don't. But more to the point, if you happen to be a monarchy, you can file one claim against and trigger as many of these combatants as is possible. Like if I were to declare war on Dalmatia, I have one claim there already. I would trigger this nation as well. Now here, if I were to war, I would trigger Istria as well. So what I want to do is proceed up in this direction, and we'll trigger our Dalmatia and Armistia, and then we'll then border any of this lot here. We can, in order to file a claim, you have to border the nation or tribe or whatnot in order to file a claim. So you'll note I couldn't file a claim now because I don't border the power. It has to be coastal or border. I could file one here in Veneto because it's coastal. And if I tried to declare war here on Veneto presently, I would get a malai of stability, war exhaustion, and aggressive expansion because I have no claim. Now here, on the other hand, I have a claim. I get no such malai or malus. So do that, file claims, just one though, to trigger as many combatants as is possible. Don't worry about war score if they're small. Like I said, with the Seleucid Empire, you probably want to maybe have more than one claim there, although I wouldn't do it either. Just one claim and take as much as you can. Don't worry about it. Again, for the Republic with the half-price claims, you probably file more claims than that, allow you to take more territory for less aggressive expansion. But for a monarchy, you can save the claims, just take what you can with the one claim, and then save your PI for wonders. If you want to build proper wonders, we'll get there. You also want to build save your PI for holy sites. You can build a holy site in any given city. I could build one here, for instance. Just click on this button here. I don't have the 300 gold, but if I wanted to build a holy site, it would give me +1 building slots, some migration attraction, and a 25% increase here, as well as the omen power. It's quite useful. You can also place artifacts, which we don't have many of at present, but in the shrines if they're in your territory proper. So holy sites are quite useful. They just cost us a bit of PI. PI is very important, as I noted. Don't ever waste it on silly stuff like this, or as previously mentioned earlier. I loaded another save as Epirus. We went forward about 50 years or thereabouts. You know, we've done quite a bit of expanding. As a republic here, say a Rome, you really don't want to get up into these territories with no cities here. As Epirus, I did, because you'll note that I urbanized this area by myself. If you open up a brand new save, you'll note that these cities were not there to start with, and that I built them with the PI that I said is very important and you should never waste on anything as silly as a divine sacrifice. You just want to use the money to build a city and then move the pops to the city, utilizing the city's buildings, such as at some point you want to build a grand theater in the city so that it assimilates. But the good news is, for, say, this situation, as I was mentioning, the capital region, I moved the capital from Greece to Illyria so that I could set the policies in Illyria and leave them sit. I also like the placement of the capital region here of Liburnia. So, more to the point, you note that this is set for cultural assimilation. And any pops that you move to this capital region anywhere in it, they all must be set for assimilation, because I always essentially do that. They are. So if I conquer, I have conquered here, it's my territory here. This is set at a non-cultural assimilation policy, autonomy, which will make the people loyaler than not, or more loyal than not. What you'd really want to do is get these guys from here down to here, where they will automatically assimilate. So you want to essentially, you could, let's see, this city is full up, but we can move some pops from Romula just to demonstrate. So we want to move some pops, so just click on the population number here, or just click on the territory, move pops from Romula. These are Druidic. If you want to get very specific into being as efficient as possible with these moves, you'd want to get as many of these pops out of Romula as possible. That leaves the one guy there. The one guy, or one pop, will essentially, is no choice but to, he would be the one assimilating and converting, because all the other pops are gone. So at some point, this pop here, the one pop, is going to turn Hellenic and primary culture, period, right? Unless there's some growth. But from time to time, just go back and see if there are any more pops and move them out as well. And sooner or later, this whole province here will flip to your primary culture and primary religion. The problem in between then and now is that we have a bunch of pops here who are less than adequately happy and now overpopulated our glorious city. The good news is, here, we have Hellenic, one Druid. I've already done this. But theoretically, we have a couple of Hellenic, like two Hellenics and no Druids. So what I would want to do is take one Druid from this overpopulated city here. Boom. So now this guy is going to convert, whereas he wouldn't have converted here. Only one pop in any given territory can either convert or assimilate at any given time. So whether there were 50 pops in this Romula area or one pop, the conversion and assimilation happens at exactly the same pace. Relatively slow, but actually like relatively quick with less pops, because as I said, the one pop will become primary culture and primary religion immediately when any of this gets done. Whereas if there were 50 pops there, we would then have one pop who was primary religion and primary culture, and then 49 other pops who are like wrong. So in a relative way, that if you move the guys out, it's quite advantageous for you, like quite advantageous for you. The problem is you need to place them so that you don't blow yourself up. You note that there are a lot of pops here, and you always want to have, like if I move another Druid pop here, the threshold between Hellenics and Druids will be essentially the same, and sometimes a game will think that there are a dominant of a primary religion at that point, and it will, like here, and it will give you a malus. Here there are more Druids than Hellenics. So if we look here, we'll note that these pops are converting, but not as quickly as one might expect, because dominant religion is not state religion, 25%. Dominant culture is not integrated. That's always going to be the case. Well, not always, but in the case of, anyway, here's the culture. There's a very, not even a single primary culture here. So back to just sort of the aggregate. And we get here for non-integrated culture. So these are 25, 10, and 20 that we don't need any of, just because the cultures are wrong. That's going to be a given in most of these places, because we're going to be moving the wrong culture here that don't automatically assimilate in these policies. You hit the provenance map mode. So this is outside the capital region. The capital region is going to have automatic assimilation. This is the region of Pannonia, and it's going to have whatever random policy the governor chooses. So what we'll do, again, as I've been saying, is move the pops out of these territories here to a place where they will automatically assimilate. If you're watching this and want more I'll be happy to explain it with some text. If not, let's move on. So again, as I said, as a republic, you really don't want to conquer into tribal territories because you really don't have anything to do with them. You want to have as many pops in your primary region here as possible, because that's where your levy count comes from. Like here in Illyria, we have more levies, and we have a legion that we called up here in Illyria as well. That's specifically, we can call up 27 units. And those units are available because of the freemen, citizens, and nobles that you have throughout your primary region, which is here, region map mode, Illyria. Those are mostly going to be found in cities, and you want to build as many of them in your primary region as possible. Presently, we have 27. This game is going to go on for some time. I think it goes over 1,000 by the end of it. But that's very highly specialized. I almost built a city in all of every territory in this region. But your experience may vary, or your temperament, playstyle, and such may vary. Just do what you feel is necessary. These 27 maximum here are sufficient for anyone but Rome. And then it's just a write-off. If Rome were to attack Epirus at this point in the game, we would be overrun badly, and then it would probably come back and attack again, and it would be very near a write-off unless we were to just sort of run away from him. He could take this, and then we could conquer this way, and then he could take this, and then we could conquer this way, and then we would have built all these cities. And Rome is a major pain, if you don't get my inference. If you're next to Rome or any other major power as a minor, or just starting to civilize and build cities, you know that there are a lot of cities here, but there are not a lot of higher order citizens because they have as yet to promote. These pops will promote at a certain pace. You can only promote one pop per any given city at any given time, much the same as the conversion and assimilation. So there are a bunch of slaves here, but only one slave can promote to a freeman. You note that there's presently a slave that's being promoted to a freeman. You'll note that these ratios here, we only have 4% nobles right now. We should be at 13. We only have 9% citizens. We should be at 26. Our freemen are about right. We have a lot more slaves than we should. So when this is right, it's going to move on to nobles and citizens. And the only sort of pop that can promote to a citizen, I believe, is a freeman. And the only pop that can promote to a noble, I believe, is a citizen. Although, don't quote me on that exactly. I just skimmed over the wiki, and it looks as though it said something about a slave having to promote 3 times before he could become a noble. So that's 1, 2, and 3. So freemen go to citizens, citizens go to nobles. If you want to juice your nobles, you want to build academies here, and it'll make the ratio higher. Academies will raise the ratio, desired noble ratio 5%. So you really want to have in each of your cities 3 academies, irrespective of anything. You know, money. If the money is available, build the academies before you build any of these buildings. In fact, academies and marketplaces are really the only thing that I tend to build, except for theaters and or temples, but mostly theaters because the pops will convert for free, as mentioned with formulatic worship. Monarchies also have a law here that you can choose religious conversion for another 0.25 tick. This one is very important for monarchies. You'd want to unearth that as soon as possible, and that is done by reaching proscribed canon. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 down. All right, on to the elephant in the room, which is integrated cultures. Should you do it? Should you not do it? I never do it. A lot of people swear by it. Most people that swear by it are very fond of levies for warring. I'm not. My primary culture is presently 56% happy. It is the only integrated culture that I have, and it's going to stay that way. Essentially, in any game that I play, I only integrate the one. I will create theaters, grand theaters, which are actionable by this oratory technology. Here, gradual economic integration. Once you hit that, you can build a grand theater in any and all your cities. Once you expand far enough and get a decent income, you can create these grand theaters in your cities that are outside of your home region. Again, there's no need really to create them immediately in your home region, because everything in your home region will, of course, as I've mentioned before, have the cultural assimilation policy rolling, giving you a 0.90 positive tick. A grand theater will give another 0.2 or a 2.0 up. It will. You'll note here that the pop's assimilation speed of plus 2.00 adds another 66% or thereabouts to the 0.9 that the assimilation policy offers. But it's also quite expensive relative to the number of cities and need. Again, let me be clear. Your home territory has very little need of it, especially early in the game when money is somewhat tight. Later on in the game, you build theaters in all of these areas. Once you expand sufficiently and get a tax base and commercial base, you could do that by colonizing up here, conquering these barbarous territories, etc., and now exporting the goods and then building the theaters. Depending on how you play, in this particular playthrough, I only had the one legion available to be raised in my capital region. There are other laws you can choose via the martial advances. Cohorts will allow you to raise legions in any region. Dacia, Moesia, Thrace, Greece, Italia, Magna Graecia, any one of these I can control. I could raise a legion. In this particular game, you'll note here, there are not a lot of count available. For instance, in my home region of Illyria, I have 27 cohorts available for raising. In Greece, my old capital, I have 8, and it gets worse from there. Macedonia is 4, Pannonia is 4. Essentially, everything is going to be the minimum, except for my former capital of Greece. So, essentially, I would not want to build any theaters in any of these cities that are outside of Illyria. It may be a nice thing for loyalty, but you don't need it, and I would never, under these circumstances, build a grand theater anywhere but my home territory or home region. Again, I have very little need for them there because of the point in the game we're at, as well as the automatic assimilation policy. But what if I wanted to integrate another culture for whatever the reason, to make the pops in that area more happy, or to be able to raise a levy or a legion there if I had the cohort technology available here, which is no slight amount of text, I might add, or innovations. So all the way down here, you also have to go down this side there. So it's no small undertaking, and generally speaking, the players should do well enough on a martial. If you're just raw to this game, just beginning in any Paradox game, you may have some trouble if you played EU4 or Victoria, well, not Victoria 3 because that's automatic, but say Crusader Kings or whatnot, you probably have a relative ease. Okay, so why am I not going to want these cultures integrated? I could get more levies. Well, number one, I don't really want the levies to begin with. I prefer legions. They hit harder. I get the sort of units I want. I get the heavy cav, which are bonused against light cav, light infantry, archers especially, chariots, camel cav. I get my heavy infantry, which are bonused against most things as well. And then I can have the supply trains and especially engineers as I please. If you look here under levies, I don't even get a supply train with any of these levies, so I'd have to rely on mercs for that, which is not bad. But anyway, more to the point, like, levies are not bad, they're just not really overly potent. But if I were to integrate, say, Macedonian, and I conquered over in this area, what would happen? My primary culture loyalty would decrease by 5%, and the Macedonian loyalty would increase by, probably become 51%. I don't know exactly, as I never do it, but I'm pretty sure they would both be the same at 51%. Why would I do it? That's the question I have. I don't have, again, a good answer. Like, there's a Macedonian freeman here. There's 5 Macedonian slaves here, and I believe 2 citizens. There's slaves and freemen. So one citizen here will be Macedonian. He'll be relatively happy. He's not even in a city. This Macedonian citizen or 2 of them are going to be out in the woods there. They'll probably not be very happy. There's some Macedonian pops here. There's a nobleman and a slave. The thing is like, there's a bunch of these Macedonian pops just sort of out in the bush that are going to interact with my research rate. The research rate is arrived at by citizens and nobles output. And the happier your citizens and nobles are, the more they output. Nobles are especially happy when they're in cities. Citizens almost as much so, that you want them in cities. If they're out in the bush, like this Macedonian nobleman here, just sort of is in the city. So these Macedonian citizens out in the settlement of Barrow, they're not going to be happy. They may be citizens, and that's good for them, but they're not going to produce much output because they're not happy. They'd rather be in a city. So it may be a citizen, but the output here, the 756, is not going to be, the needle is not going to move much on that. Those Macedonian pops that I integrate are going to be under the bottom line, I believe the denominator, 547. The total number of integrated culture pops that we have, which I'm going to refer to as integrated culture or primary culture, because if I integrate Macedonian, for instance, it would become a primary culture. So I would have my Epiriote and my Macedonian as my primary culture. The thing is why do I want these Macedonians? They're to tank my research rate. And by the time I conquer over into this area here, like say here, he'll have like various Macedonians that he will assimilate. Like there'll be an Arab Macedonian here, some Macedonian here, maybe 2 Macedonians out in the bush here, a couple in a city here that may be freemen, maybe slaves, maybe no, I don't know. And the truth of the matter is I don't really like to figure it out. First of all, I don't like the research rate of the denominator. So 547, how many? I have 547 integrated culture pops at present, which would be exactly the number of primary culture here, 547. If I integrate Macedonians, that's going to jump to, 1050 or whatnot, right? 1060, 70, some such. So that's going to have my research output, provided that these Macedonians don't put out any research, which of course they will put out research. There are Macedonians that are happy, theoretically, in these cities. Like, there are 3 citizens and 4 nobles, and if I integrate them, they'll be happy. But like, if I took here, let's take like here, for instance, as a random city, there's 1 citizen, 2 nobles, and 3 slaves. Now, the ratios here are such that if any promotion that would happen here has happened. So these 3 slaves are going to stay slaves unless I move more pops into the city, which is, workable. I could move some Trojan pops from here into there, or from this settlement here. I could move a Macedonian. There's another problem here. There's a citizen out in the bush. He's never going to be happy. There's a Macedonian freeman as well there, as well as 1 Macedonian slave. I could move the slave here to diddle with this ratio to allow for the 3 Macedonian slaves to promote. The question I always come back to is, why should I? Why should I? I have a perfectly orderly primary region right here. I know what's going on there. I've meticulously planned for it. I built these cities. I know what's going on. Essentially, I have no idea what's going on here, nor do I have to care. Again, you would have to assume that these pops are going to be able to be as efficiently deployed as these pops. You'll note that these primary culture pops here are almost all mulling about in cities, waiting for promotion. Like there are, say here, our capital. Let's click on the pops and then pop info. There are more slaves here than there are anyone else, really. The freeman ratio is right. The citizens are well lacking, and the nobles are way below what they should be. So I know that these slaves that I have in my capital, 6 of them, mind you, that I need more, are going to promote up to freeman almost immediately. Not immediately, but 21%. This is going to happen every 5 months in game time, is going to promote 1 slave to freeman, or 1 freeman to citizen, or 1 citizen to noble. So there may only be 6 primary culture slaves here presently. The thing is, they're going to turn to freemen, and then maybe I'll run out of primary culture slaves to promote. It doesn't matter, because there are freemen here. You'll note there's only 1 primary culture freeman, because the moment that they promote to freeman, they go up to a higher order, because these are way lacking in number. So the slaves' primary culture become freemen, and then boom, they start to concentrate again on going to higher order. But as these primary culture slaves, the 6 that are there, go here, they'll immediately go here, and then the freeman ratio will be lower than you would expect, and some of these non-primary culture will become freemen. So to make a long story short, I have efficiently deployed my primary culture pops to where I'm going to get the most research efficiency out of them quickly. This is going to peg at the maximum value, which is 200%, and it's going to happen really quick. I wouldn't be surprised if by 520 it happened. Let's see, in fact. All right, I had to save some time from 520, luckily enough. Click on this, 195% research efficiency. Why? Because I didn't integrate Macedonian, and my pops promoted up to higher order citizens. Let's see what happened here in our capital that we were just looking at. So we still have a bunch of primary culture pops as slaves waiting to promote. We have 0 primary culture freemen, which is good for me. It means our non-primary culture have something to do with themselves. We have no citizens, and whoever can be promoted to nobles have. So what we need here are more primary culture freemen, who will immediately become nobles. I believe that I have not created any academies as yet, but I am building aqueducts, which means I can move more primary culture pops there, increase the ratios, and continue. But the point again is that 200% or 195% is so close to 200. Why would I want to mess with that? Because I'm going to win this game with technology, not with a bunch of levies running around, slamming into enemies or whom not with this light infantry, costing me all kinds of manpower that I, sort of have but don't really have a lot of. I want legions. Hard-hitting legions. We expanded over in this direction. We are headed over towards steppe horses, where we'll get some flanking units, and then we'll just become a devastating machine of destruction, that legion. Once it gets some horse archers for flanking, it'll start stack wiping units and doing all kinds of carnage that really is not. You couldn't even believe it if you didn't see it. Epirus playthrough, just watch any Carthaginian war, or sometimes you just walk up to a Carthaginian army 20,000 strong and it disappears because it gets stack wiped. Well, I think that about says it. If anyone needs any sort of clarification as to anything that was said, feel free to query in the comment section. I'll probably do a follow-up for sort of a mid-game warring aspect relative to strategy and such, or any questions that anyone might have. Maybe give me an idea for some other aspect of the game that I didn't touch on.